Barnam este midu, let's garodovan hag, barnalovas yankum, kes hamar orina.
Աշխարհին ինչ ասենք, երբ մենք մեղավոր ենք, մեր տունան դեր թողենք, օտարուց յանավորենք։
Եթե որդիդ օտար հողում մեծանա, ու երկրի պատմությունը չիմանա, որ ձեռության ասակում քեզ չես տևի, զամաչես կոչերմակ մասևի։
Եթե որդի օտար հողում մեծանա, ու ասկի պատմությունը չիմանա, որ ձեռության հասակում քեզ չես ների,
Hi everyone, I can't stop this song. It touches my heart so deeply, the words of it. Oh, I love listening to it. So I'm very excited to have Vic Gerami with us. One of our members just referred us to him, and I'm so honored to have you on tonight. He's a radio host and an Armenian advocate. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Vic, welcome. Generally, I guess it's the other way around. You're the one who's interviewing, and today it's the tables are turned. Welcome, and we appreciate having you with us on our weekly presentation. We'll give the microphone over to you. If you can just give us a little bit of background of where you're from and how you got here and how you ended up being you do what you do. And then tell us about some of the really famous people that you've interviewed and then some other things. Thank you for having us.
Oh, sure. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest. I'm Armenian, obviously, born in Iran, left. I wanted to pursue my dream so badly that I lobbied my parents, probably ever since I was 9 or 10, to send me to the States. At the time, Iran was in war with Iraq. Luckily, if I hadn't left Iran, by the time I was 13, I would have been prohibited from leaving Iran. My parents both had stories of unfulfilled dreams. So they didn't want to get in my way. So at 12 years old, they sent me to Greece with my oldest sister. Lived in Greece for 3 years, moved here on my 15th birthday. And life's been an adventure. When I was 3 years old, my parents took me to Armenia. We were there for 3 months. And some don't believe it, but I actually remember a lot of it at 3 years old. So I, just good old Armenian mama's boy, did everything right, went to school with a degree in theater arts, but my English writing and all of that was a lot more appreciated by professors than anything else. So I gravitated toward that. And my career has been mostly in media, different aspects of media. I now I'm the editor and publisher of my own web publication, The Blunt Post. It's also a radio show. It's a national news and politics radio show on KPFK, which is public radio, independent, commercial free. Those that don't know KPFK, it's longest running public radio in the country with the strongest signal west of the Mississippi. We reach 18 million listeners.
Wow.
Wow.
And it is, I always tell people, we're so progressive that we make NPR sound like Fox News. So that's, that's KPFK. My show, I interview a member of Congress on each show and other high profile public figures. Now, since September 27th, even though my show is, mostly our audience is non-Armenian, and my show is in the time slot where it requires it to be national news, headline news, politics, I've devoted most of it to Artsakh and Armenia, because in a landscape where there's so little coverage, I'm breaking little rules and just I'm interviewing as many people who are movers and shakers in the Armenian community and newsmakers. And last week I interviewed two prominent attorneys who are very much involved with what's happening, Karo Ghazarian and Karnik Kirkonian. I've interviewed, Aram Hamparian from ANCA. I've interviewed the president of AGBU, just to get it out there. And ever since September 27th, every member of Congress I've interviewed, I put them on record. I've asked them direct questions about Artsakh and Armenia, and to just get it on record. And I've sent it to ANCA.
Nice.
So they can quote them and they can do whatever they need to do. I also write for various other publications as a contributor. That's, it's just my life. I live with a laptop all day. And I'm an activist journalist, and I'm not afraid to say that. In certain journalism circles, you can't be that because you're supposed to be impartial and unbiased and all of that BS that I think is just garbage. There's no such thing as being neutral. The smart ones knew that a long time ago. Some others are just waking up to it. And I'm not afraid to say I'm an activist journalist. And I do have a mission. And that's what I do. And that's basically, I have an activist background. I've done a lot of activism for the LGBTQ community. I've done activism for Armenia and Artsakh way before the September 27th. I refuse to call it a war because it wasn't a war. It was a genocidal assault. So it's just a part of my fabric. My parents were always very much activists. My parents were very generous and benevolent. And that's the household I grew up in. I was last in Armenia in 2018, and I had just incredible, incredible time. And I'm heartbroken ever since September 27th. I'm, honestly, anything that I do that's not about Artsakh and Armenia seems so frivolous. Because all day I get press releases and media alerts and this and that about movies and, just other topics. And I just can't fathom working on anything else. I barely work on other things just to sort of make my living. But, this is the moment of truth for us, for me, and what's happening. I hope that was not too long of an introduction.
No, not at all. And I'm sure many, if not all that are watching this presentation now feel exactly like you. It's like you said, when we're not doing something about the wars, quote unquote, or with Armenia, about helping our brothers and sisters in Armenia, or a family that's lost a soldier, or You have a soldier who's lost a limb. It seems like, so what? It's not important. There's more important things, and we hear you exactly.
Same with us. We sleep 4 or 5 hours a day now, and then we're
Yeah.
like dedicated. For me, I'm dedicated. Whenever I'm awake, it's like I feel guilty if I'm doing something else. If we go visit someone, like all I talk about now is Armenia and what's happening, what's going on. Like,
To the point where her sister said, maybe you shouldn't visit us anymore. So
so yes,
we
I
can
hear
relate. We
you.
can relate.
It's
Tell
tough
us,
to balance. Yeah.
tell us a little bit about some of the interviews that you've done with. We'll start with some Armenian celebrities or Armenian people who are, like maybe more. I'll use the word famous without, for lack of better word. If you can just share some of those with us, and maybe you can give us some insight.
Sure. So I haven't actually interviewed too many Armenian or Armenian American celebrities. I have a celebrity Q&A column that's syndicated, 10 Questions with Vic, which I haven't worked on for months. And it's a very casual sort of get to know column that, I've done interviews with Kathy Griffin, Melissa Manchester, Dan Reynolds, Ed Begley Jr., Paula Abdul, a bunch of people. In terms of Armenian American celebrities, I can't even think of.
Did you interview Cher or?
I have casually interviewed Cher when I've been at premieres and such together, but not for my column.
Okay.
Not for my column. I actually wanted Cher to be in the PSA, celebrity PSA that helped to co-produce called I Stand with Artsakh and Armenia, which I started to work on a week after September 27th. What happened was I have a colleague named Nicole Mush. She's Canadian. She's not Armenian. She's an entertainment publicist. She'd done some work to promote the films and TV shows for USA Armenia Network. She'd been contacted to do something where mainstream media, American media, global media would cover what's happening. So Nicole knew me and knew sort of what I was doing and contacted me and said, will you come on board and work with me on this? So we talked and I suggested that we do celebrity PSAs, because how better to get the attention of people who might otherwise not really care or you can't get their attention. So, she'd worked with a lot of celebrities. I had interviewed a lot. So we sent a lot of inquiries to people asking them to do it. And I don't know if it was the timing, because it was so new, no one knew what was going on. And of course, there was all of this disinformation coming out of Azerbaijan and Turkish lobby and all the lobbying and PR firms that hired. But much to my surprise, some of the celebrities that I thought, or I knew I had good rapport with, wouldn't do it. We got Kim Kardashian, we got Serge Tankian, Ed Begley Jr., Lawrence Zarian, we got a few other people, Sally Kirkland, but it wasn't like what we thought it was going to be. I gotta name names. What the heck? My show is called The Blunt Post, so I'll be direct and blunt. Kathy Griffin, I've known for many, many years. I've worked with her a lot. Was someone that really surprised me. It didn't get back to me. Same thing with Marianne Williamson. I've known for a long time. I've interviewed her several times, and others. And some of them were Armenian American. And I'm not blaming them because I don't know the facts. I don't know their situation, but not getting, and when I say inquire about an interview, for me, I'm so type A. That's like 3 emails, like 3 phone calls, a couple of texts, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And like Andre Agassi, nothing, never heard back. I was kind of disappointed, but we got enough to have a really successful PSA. I asked Congressman Schiff, whom I've interviewed several times, to do it, and he was glad to do it. Yeah, that's just sort of been my Armenian celebrity experience. So when we, I don't know if I should go into this, but what the heck? I contacted Cher's publicist, Liz Rosenberg, and I sort of corresponded with her before. And Liz said, our gal, because she knows how much I like Cher, because I did a tribute article about Cher that she'd read. Our gal is not doing any appearances, any shows, any videos, nothing. But if you like, you can submit some social media posts and I will forward it to her, and then, you know, she'll decide if she wants to do it. And I said, okay, well, you know, you get whatever you can get. So I prepared like what I think would be appropriate for her, knowing sort of like the boundaries of good PR, and, you know, Cher as a superstar, she'd have to be sort of careful. And I sent it to Liz Rosenberg to forward to Cher. And of course, 3 days later, Cher is giving Garth Brooks an award at the Billboard Awards. I thought she wasn't doing anything. The social media post never happened. Okay, so for 5 weeks after September 27th, I'm beating down Liz Rosenberg's door. I'm tweeting directly to Cher, who's always on Twitter, and saying, just do a tweet, just one tweet. Nothing happened. Very disappointed. So I thought, you know, it's easy to point out and to call out people that we don't disagree with, that are the enemy, if you will, or that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But we also must call out people that we do admire and like when they're not there for us at the most important time. If you're not going to tweet when Armenians are being slaughtered, 100+ of them on a daily basis, okay, if I can't get you to do that, then, you know, I don't know what to say. Yeah. So I took to YouTube and I called her out. And I said, I love you, Cher. I've met you several times. I'm one of your top 1,000 fans. You know, I mean, and on and on and on. But this is kind of unconscionable. Of course, right before I did that YouTube thing, I found out she was in Pakistan about an elephant she'd been tweeting about. Now, we're all animal lovers, and I get it. She was trying to get an elephant to find sanctuary from Pakistan into Cambodia. And later come to find out that that was a Smithsonian Channel project. So in my YouTube video, I said, Cher, Pakistan, first of all, is the only country in the world that has not recognized, not the Armenian genocide, that it hasn't, but Armenia as a republic. It's the only nation that has not recognized the independent Republic of Armenia. And you go to Pakistan. On top of that, Pakistan is one of the 3 countries that supplied mercenaries to slaughter Armenians. You are in Pakistan when Armenians are being slaughtered. I don't care that it's for the Smithsonian. I don't care that it's for an elephant. I mean, seriously? What a slap in the face. A week later, she did a PSA. It wasn't our PSA, it was a different PSA, which is fine. Just do it. And she did a single tweet. But the point is, for me, the effect of what I've seen, what I continue to see, it's so, basically my gloves are off. I'm going after any politician, any public figure that says one thing behind a mic, on a stage, in the lights, and acts completely differently. You know, we don't need the rhetoric, the sound bites, all the BS anymore. We don't need all the nonsensical speeches and condemnations. How many condemnations have we heard? And what have they done? Okay, we condemn the actions of Turkey and Azerbaijan. Blah. What are you doing about it? What meaningful, substantial step are you taking to do something? And that's what's important. I kind of went from, I don't know, one place to another, and we've landed there. But that's really important for me, that I can only speak for myself, that I am holding everyone accountable that I can on a daily basis, you know, so we don't continue to be fed what they think is diplomatic maneuvering, when in fact it's actually emboldening and enabling Azerbaijan and Turkey. So they think they're being neutral. They think they're doing a balancing act, but they're not, you know. As Elie Wiesel said, you know, when you see injustice, you have to pick sides, because if you don't, you're actually emboldening, I'm paraphrasing, the oppressor, and you're not helping the oppressed. So this is a moment of truth for people, you know, like France, the most vocal ally of Armenia. Once again, of course, the French Assembly called for the recognition of Artsakh, so did the French Senate. But now it's stalled. So was it just, was it just theatrics? What is Macron doing about it? You know, of course, you know, I don't want to get too detailed about it. We know about the pipeline and what that means for France and the investments and yada, yada, yada. The bottom line is, don't give a speech about idealism and human rights and democracy, and then don't go all the way.
Vic, from what you just said, I can also, I'm reminded of a saying that holds very true to exactly what you said. And that is, if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the
problem. Absolutely.
And we need solutions. As Armenians, we need solutions.
Yes.
We don't we don't need the rhetoric, just like you said. And one of the things about and hopefully our members and those who are watching and know, that's what Buy Armenian is doing. It's regardless of how small it is, we are trying to be a solution for one of the problems that exists in Armenia right now. Because whether it's due to the COVID, whether it's due to the war, whether it's due to the situation itself, we're trying to be a positive thing for the Armenians, for Armenian businesses, especially the small and medium-sized Armenian businesses.
Absolutely. I'm totally believe in that. Another good saying is, in fact, I wrote, I need to refer to a couple of things I've written, because I wanted to use 12 steps, analogies, and slogans that I think really address. A lot of people don't know that 12 steps. Okay, you don't have to be an alcoholic or drug addict or whatnot, or overeater or Gamblers Anonymous, to really benefit from 12 steps. The 12 steps are very beneficial and very rich in wisdom, if you will, that address anyone's life in any situation. Now, I happen to be a grateful recovering alcoholic. I almost have 13 years sober, so I'm very familiar with them. But the slogan that you said, if you're not part of the problem, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. It's usually used in 12-step, and one of my favorites. Another one is living life on life's terms. Now, one of the things that we Armenians have done is we look back and say, what happened? Whose fault was it? This should have been done this way. I wish that person had acted that way. We're not living with the situation as is. Living life on life's terms means it's happened. It's awful, but it's happened. So now we have to accept it and move on from a point of acceptance that it's happened. you know, and not what could have, should have, would have, and the blame game and the mudslinging, right?
I totally agree with that from my life experience. If you don't think about it like that, you just drag yourself and paralyze yourself. You can't move on. So we have to accept anything in life,
Yeah,
any situation. Here we are. This is the situation that we have. How can we come out of it the best way and find the solution for it instead of just beating ourselves or feel sorry about what happened or pointing fingers about,
right.
you know, it's like I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And do it one day at a time, because
Exactly.
when we look at the big picture, when we look at where we are, the national security of Armenia and Artsakh, when we look at the 40,000 plus people that are essentially homeless, when we look at the wounded soldiers and the surgeries that they need, when we look at the economic recession in Armenia, because so much of it is dependent on tourism, it's so overwhelming that, you know, of course you're going to get depressed. But we do one day at a time. We do the best that we can that one day, and we turn over the results. You know, that's the easiest way to get through today.
Yeah.
Keeping an open mind. You know, we all think that we know it all, but we don't. There's a lot we don't know, and that's okay. But we have to keep an open mind that there might be perspectives and there might be facts that we don't know yet. We may know in the future, but not right now. And to just keep an open mind. I'm actually reading them on my laptop screen. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? That's another slogan.
That's right.
If we continue with the same pattern of behavior, if we continue with the same policies, if we continue with the same way that we are dealing with things, then how do we expect different result? Now, I don't want to get into Armenian politics. I'm not interested. It's so convoluted. I really don't know too much about it. But one thing that I'll say is that, for example, I've been reading some of the reports from the Armenia's foreign minister. And to me, they seem very apropos for a time when it's peaceful and everything is just great. And I'm thinking, we should all be going 150 miles an hour. Like, this is not business as usual. This is not a time to say, I had a very successful conversation with the foreign minister of Sweden about bilateral trade and the future of tech in both countries. And I'm just thinking, this is really the time for that? So if nothing changes, is we've got to, like, you know, we're all activists. We're all activists right now. We have to be. We don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice. That's true.
My favorite is my favorite slogan for life is, you cannot think yourself into right action. You can only act yourself into right thinking. If we sit and think about all the problems, all the challenges, and think, how are we going to solve it, and try to solve it in our head before we take the first action, that'll probably never happen because it's so overwhelming. But once we take an action, even not being sure where we're going or what we're doing, the right thinking will just come. You know, like, just do something. You know, whatever it is, even if you don't know what you're doing, just start it and the rest will just come.
Vic, you know what that reminds me of? It's like, I need to start to exercise, or I need to start to diet. You
Right.
know, I'm going to start on Monday.
Right.
Except that Monday never comes.
Right. You just got to go to the gym, even though you're tired, you don't want to be there, you have a really bad attitude. You go to the gym and you get on the treadmill or elliptical or weights or whatnot. And the thinking will start to change. You may not be successful the first day or the second or the third, but you have to, like, start the physical, and the mental will come.
Right. And it goes back to what you said a while ago. It's a step at a time.
Yeah. One day at a time.
One can't expect to go to the gym on Monday and lose the 20 pounds that they want to lose. It's going to take time, and it's going to be a step at a time, a day at a time. It's like a drop in the bucket. One drop will not, maybe, you won't see anything. 10 drops, maybe nothing. But at some point, there's going to be a drop that's going to spill the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's about, I'm talking in slogans now. It brings to progress, not perfection, right? It's just progress. You're not going to do it perfectly at the gym, but you're going to progress. You're going to just go an inch closer to your goal. And it's the progress. It's slow, but you got to start somewhere.
And at least it's in the right direction.
It's in the right direction. Yeah.
Jordan has a saying too, when you play the game, just focus on the game. Don't focus on the result. Do the best that you can, and then the result will follow eventually. So just focus on the moment that you're playing. So it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And principles before personalities, right? We're all personalities. We are, there are so many of us. We all think differently. We are, this political group, that political group, you're from this country, you're that country. All of that is irrelevant right now. We have two enemies, at least two major enemies. And it's that principle that matters, not the personalities. Right. You may dislike such and such politician, president, prime minister, etc. Fine, but it's the principle of what is happening. And Armenia and Artsakh are essentially struggling for their survival in a very hostile environment. So, there's got to be room to put away our differences and really come together and be in the solution.
Vic, have you noticed, and this is something that we've spoken about in previous people that we've had on our program, is that during this war, it seemed like it was the first time that at least I felt that all Armenians, they came together for the common cause. And,
absolutely.
It was amazing. It was like, this is going to sound really, really weird, but in a way you think, I wish the war didn't end, because during the war, we were on fire. We were together.
Let's keep the momentum. Let's keep
it was intoxicating. It was intoxicating because it was such a great show of solidarity. It was really, truly, every day, everything that I saw was incredible. And guess what? What's happening right now is a result of that. Yeah. So we still have some of that. When the war ended, inevitably, we lost. And I can write a book about all of that, but it's irrelevant. We human beings have a tendency to want to blame, right? It's and that kind of deviated us from what was important. And we just really need to, some of it, we need to let it work itself out. I can only speak with myself. I'm completely powerless as to what happens in Armenia in their own political system. Yes. I'm actually confused. So I have to know, it comes back to this, and I don't want to get religious because it's not a religious prayer per se, but everything comes down to the serenity prayer. God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Absolutely. We cannot change what's happened. We cannot change all those little minutiae battles within the Armenian political system. We cannot change Turkey or Azerbaijan. But what can we change? There are so many things that we can change. And it's really knowing the differences and then going after the ones that we can change.
Absolutely. Yes. You said it perfectly. I was going to say that there are two ways you can approach a problem. One can talk about a negative thing, or one can take a positive step and have a positive effect. Yeah. I'm going to give an example of that. the difference between Boycott buying Turkish products and buying Armenian products.
Sure.
Those are actually, there is some overlap, but it's not the same thing, because one can boycott Turkish products and then buy American products. You'd be
Right.
boycotting Turkish. But if you buy Armenian, that in and of itself already says you're not buying Turkish products. And that's why we wanted to focus on the positive, focus
Absolutely.
on everything that's Armenian.
I completely agree with you, because simply not buying the Turkish product is half of the equation, right?
Yeah.
You still have power with the dollars that you're spending.
That's right.
So if you're not going to buy the Turkish fig jam, why are you not buying the one that's made in Armenia? I remember I was like 18 or 19. I went to an Armenian grocery store, and there was like, I'll never forget it, this blackberry jam made in Turkey. And I just asked the owner, and I was like, how come you guys are selling Turkish products? And the owner was like, well, people really like that, and they just always ask for it. And I'm thinking, there must be like hundreds of companies that make blackberry jams. And even if there wasn't, right? I mean, what happens to our lives? Are we that affected because we can't have that blackberry jam? I mean, is it that essential? Is it like baby's milk, for Pete's sake? I mean, get over it. You know, there's just no excuse. And I have to tell you, I appreciate that you are sort of looking at the positive and all of that. But as an activist, I also look at it as there's nothing wrong with boycott. Boycott is a tool that's been used by activists for decades and decades, maybe centuries, to take a stand and make a statement. And boycotting, I mean, civil rights movement, boycotting the bus system, you know, boycotting happened in apartheid South Africa. Boycott has happened, you know, throughout history to make change. And we have every right to boycott Turkish products. We have every right to boycott Azerbaijani products, and to expose them for what they are. Expose the fact that Turkish Airlines is benefiting the Turkish government, a totalitarian, genocidal government that's terrorizing people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's Hasmik who has a question.
I'm going to read the question too.
Yes. So,
Okay.
Asmik Zakarian writes, hi, Vic, thank you for all you do and congratulate on your achievements. I want to ask you, as a journalist and activist, what is your view of all the total silence of all news media for so many days during war, even when enemy was using chemical bombs? Does this question that they only report what has benefit for them or their supporters? I just want your honest opinion if possible. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Hi, Hasmik. Thanks for your question. Absolutely. I know nothing but being honest and completely unfiltered. So what we learned is that for about a year, Turkey and Azerbaijan pre-planned their attack very well. And part of their pre-planning wasn't just buying all the weaponries and getting training and all of that. Of course, Azerbaijan could have never pulled it off by itself, and it was Turkey that was the engineer of it. And part of that was Azerbaijan hired, with their oil money, 6 public relations and lobbying firms in DC, and a couple of dozen PR firms in DC, LA, and London, excuse me, to make sure that media is manipulated, that media is bought. Now, I am in media, and I've been in it for a long time. There are a lot of ways that you can persuade publishers and editors and reporters to report things to your benefit, and omit and abridge and edit things that they want you to do so. So this was very pre-planned to make sure that as soon as this attack happened, the narrative, it was almost like they had a media kit, a press kit ready to go, except that it was already gone. So your big outlets like BBC, CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, Fox, New York Times, Washington Post, they were already bought and sold on what the story is, and they used a few erroneous things as a sticking point. One of them was that Artsakh is internationally known as part of Azerbaijan without giving any context as to why that is, that was a temporary solution, and that Stalin had no right to just arbitrarily to appease Turkey, to hand over a piece of land and put it under not Azerbaijan, but Azerbaijani administrative part of Soviet Union. And that Artsakh in '88 had every right to its own self-determination, and they did declare themselves an independent republic before Armenia did, before Azerbaijan did.
Yes.
And so that Artsakh has never been part of independent Azerbaijan. But of course, you omit things, you know, to make it sound better. So that's one reason. Second reason is the fact that, and this was not an accident. This was not an accident that this attack took place right the height of the pandemic, and that the world was preoccupied by COVID, and the US was even more preoccupied with the election. And they also banked on the fact that Trump wasn't going to do anything, that Pompeo was getting his orders from Trump, and Trump and Erdogan being pals, that no action was going to be taken. So that was another thing, was media was really preoccupied with what really sells in media. And what sells is, at the time, was the election and COVID and this and that. The third thing is the fact that, whether we like it or not, Armenia, with a population of 2.9, we have no oil or gold or any other natural resource of substantial, portions and numbers. We are considered insignificant. Unfortunately, that's the humanity of it, and so that, and then of course the most important, I think, part of it is the fact that you're dealing with Turkey, who is a regional power with a very strong military. It's in NATO. I don't know why, but it is. And then you have Azerbaijan with all of its oil. A lot of European media, the Brits are, for example, benefiting from Azerbaijan very much. The pipeline, it's big for them. About, I think last time I might be wrong, but the numbers, about 15 companies, corporations invested in the pipeline that's bringing oil from the Caspian to all the way to Western Europe. I think it ends in Italy, then distributed to Germany and France and the UK. So you have a lot of pressure and lobby power that goes into silencing anything and anyone that gets in the way. And that's one of the reasons, not just the media overall, but you've had such a disappointing inaction from European nations. And I think it's egregious. All of them, every single one of them, including Greece, our pal, our cousins, and Cyprus. So it was very calculated. It was very opportunistic. Yeah. And that's why I am very much for that mentality. Although we can't do it 100% now, we still need the help of whatever allies we have. But ultimately, our goal should be to be 100% independent and to be a force to be reckoned with on our own.
Absolutely.
I hope that answered that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. That was very thorough, very well answered. Yeah. And I agree with you. We have to be self-sufficient. And of course, we can't be isolated from the rest of the world. But like you said, we have to be a force to be reckoned with, so that other governments just like Israel is is 6 million, I believe, and it's a global powerhouse.
Mhm.
Nobody messes with Israel,
Yeah.
and if they do, they're gonna get it. And Armenia should. We need to aspire to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be, that's going to have to be our, and one thing we learned was after all the talk and after decades of, different European countries recognizing the genocide and all the beautifully written speeches by speechwriters that the presidents and prime ministers issued, when it comes down to another one, a similar one, let's just be honest,
Yeah,
where were they?
that's right.
Someone should remind them to go read your speech you gave like 6 years ago on April 24th.
That's right.
And so Armenia has to hopefully get to a point where it's countries will think twice before messing with it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Can you believe it's been 50 minutes? 50 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yes, it has. Wow.
It was a great great event. Thank you for giving us that insight that you have from a journalistic point of view, an Armenian journalistic point of view. I enjoyed it very much, Lilith.
Same.
I think we had a lively conversation. I hope you also, being on the other side of the interview table, I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The opportunity and to be with you and to share whatever I can.
Thank you very much. And we're gonna heed your words, and we agreed with much of what you said. So hopefully we will stick together and continue moving forward for a better Armenia, for a strong Armenia, so that
there's power in unity. So we need to unite. And
yes, there's no other way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.